That was the wild scene last Monday night in Las Vegas. Hello again, everybody. I'm Steve Albert, along with the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, in our New York studio. And we are joined by the principals from last week's fight, Mike Tyson and his promoter, Don King, plus Donovan Razor Ruddock and his promoter, Murad Muhammad. But first, let us take you back to the post-fight comments.
Well, you know what I mean? I can't control the referee's decision because he's being more objective than I am because he's not involved. But I would love to hurt him and finish him and put him out.
How was he punching? Was it hurting you?
Like a thunder. He punches like a mule kick. Unbelievable. Excuse my French, please. Oh, my God. I'd like to say one thing. I'd like to say congratulations to Sheila Holloway and my newborn nephew, Michael Paris Holloway. Thank you. And to my, son, the model.
Let's take a look.
I'm coming on, baby.
Let's take a look at the model. Let's take a look at and what you watch. You tell me what you're looking at here. These were your series of punches that got him in trouble. He's in trouble.
The boy was hurt.
I was trying to catch him right there, though. He was hurt pretty bad. But I would love to finish. He's at the moment where he's really hurt.
But you see, he still can talk, and he's still on his feet, and he's still conscious. Really, I think that's premature because you should have been allowed to finish him if you could.
I believe so also, but I can't make judgment for Richard Steele. He's an experienced referee, as you know, probably the most experienced in the world, and who am I to make judgment to him? I can't judge him because I'm not his peer.
Two things came out of this. One, you're back.
Yes.
Two, Razor Ruddock is one of the top contenders in the world.
Oh, my God, he punches so hard. Punches so hard. Oh, a couple of times he hurt me, but I refuse to be hurt. I refuse. And when I'm right, my chin is like concrete. No one can stop me.
Yeah, how about Holyfield? Now this is out of the way. You passed your test. Holyfield next?
I would love to. I would fight anyone. You know what I mean? It's up to my promoter, Don King, Murad Muhammad, and Butch Lewis. They put the matches together.
You know, it would not be a bad idea to fight this guy back.
Unbelievable. I would love to have another fight with him. I would love to.
Mike Tyson is a powerful puncher. I know that for a fact, right? But, I mean, he had me down, and I figured that we're gladiators. This is a big heavyweight title fight. We get paid a lot of money for the fight, so we know the danger of it.
You would have wanted to continue.
I'd like it for him to at least put me down so I could be satisfied instead of the referee coming in and stop the fight.
Isn't this exactly what you complain about Murad Muhammad?
Complain about. Richard Steele did exactly what we said he was going to do. He stopped the fight. If you look at the replay, he hit us with one punch, Freddie, and we went against the ropes. Soon as he stopped, my kid said, "What? This is an outrage." Even Mike Tyson walked over and said that Richard Steele didn't do anything.
Tyson has said you're one of the hardest punching guys he's ever faced, and he thinks a rematch with you is a good idea. What do you think?
Because he's a warrior.
We're warriors, and I like Mike Tyson now. He proved a lot to me tonight, and I respect him a lot more. But we're gladiators. Let's fight. You know what I mean?
That's right.
No, the only reason why we have the referee in here is to make sure we don't do anything illegal.
There was a lot of rough stuff going on in there.
Michael's being dirty. Michael's being dirty a little bit, you know, and I guess that's his nature. But I think Richard should do something about that more.
All right. Do you plan a protest? Where do we go from here?
We plan a protest. We're going to sue Richard Steele, sue the athletic commissioner. We told him about this here. We want a rematch, or we going to court.
Yes, things very heated after the fight. Mike, despite all the pre-fight posturing and bad words, there seemed to be a genuine respect for Razor Ruddock. In fact, you hugged him. You initiated the hug after the fight. Did you indeed respect Razor Ruddock?
Of course, I respect all fighters, but him more so because I knew when I got in there it was going to be a tough fight because he wanted to fight, and I believe he proved that he believed in his mind that he could beat me. I thought differently, but I was prepared for a great fight.
All right, Razor, how about you? Do you respect Mike Tyson?
Well, definitely, because, I figure he's the top of the line. I figure I'm the top of the line, too, and I was having a lot of fun in there.
All right. Ferdy, you were leading the protest that the fight was stopped prematurely. Let's take another look at the moment in question. Perhaps you can take us through it.
All right, let's look at the series of punches. The first is very hard hook by Tyson, which gets him in trouble. Ruddock now falling back. 2 shots missed, but the next one hits him on the top of the head. There. Now he goes back. Keep your eye on the referee. All 3 people. Now he has stopped the fight. He has not yet looked, and he stopped it. And therefore, that was the objection. He should have talked to the fighter first.
All right, Ferdy, you had a chance to talk to Richard Steele in his dressing room after the fight. Let's take a look.
Well, the guy was hurt. He was hurt, and it was no need of me counting him out. Why should I have to wait till one more punch where he's laying flat or very seriously hurt? My job is to stop him from getting seriously hurt, and that's why I step in, and stop him when I do.
Well, we saw in the Meldrick Taylor fight that you control the fighter. You said to the fighter, are you ready to go on? Are you okay? You didn't seem to do that this time. There seemed to be no precaution. You just seemed to just jump in and stop the fight without giving the fighter a chance to show you whether he was well or not. And as soon as it was stopped, he seemed coherent. He said, what are you doing? What's happening? Why didn't you at least give him a chance to explain or show himself that he was in good condition?
Well, they're always coherent when the fight is over. But at the time that I stopped it, he wasn't coherent because he, had gave me the okay or the nod or whatever, that he knew that he was in serious trouble. And that last punch was going to hurt him very, very bad, and I was not going to allow him to take the last punch.
But I don't mean to drill the point, but you didn't ask him if he was okay. There was no verbal exchange between you two. You didn't say anything to him. He didn't say anything to you. You just stopped the fight.
I seen that he wasn't okay.
Richard Steele with the fight doctor several minutes after the controversial stoppage, unwavering in his ring judgment. Richard Steele was scheduled to be with us today via satellite from Las Vegas. However, earlier this afternoon, speaking to Showtime through the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Steele withdrew from the telecast. Steele stated that he has been harassed and threatened and wishes to put this behind him. Also, he has not changed his opinion about the events of last Monday night and stands by his actions. Steele also made it clear that the decision not to participate today was made solely by himself. And Don King, just prior to the fight, there had been some question as to your relationship with Richard Steele. Should there have been another referee used?
I don't have a relationship with Richard Steele. All I know is that he's a referee. Does his blackness give me an association? That's exactly what it is, because I've never ever had a cup of coffee with this guy at all, categorically. I know him because over the years I've been there, and he's the best referee in the world. As far as a relationship, the only association and similarity is we're both black.
So the relationship you're saying was blown out of proportion?
Yes, absolutely, it's blown out of proportion. He's been on fights that we have had, but I don't talk to officials. Never get near them, stay away from them, and stay at arm's length, and that's what has let me survive as long as I've survived. When you start to mingling and talking to them and being a party, things get taken out of context. Richard Steele's an excellent referee, and I think he did the right thing. But that's the controversy that ensued from this. Don't forget the referee in Tokyo made a long count on Tyson. Nobody's come there yet. Tyson got mandated to become the mandatory challenger. He was denied the right to say, I would get a direct rematch. But he come back and he say, well, in lieu of the fact that Holyfield is the mandatory challenger, we're going to follow the rules and regulations. We're going to put him in. Great. I ain't got no problem with that. But the winner will have to fight Tyson. They put letters after that. The WBA, the IBF, the WBC. Now, two of them reneged on their letters. Again, they say my association with Jose Sulaiman. If anybody that I talk to, they say the Don must be corrupting him, must be bribing him. I've never had a cup of coffee with Richard Steele.
All right, Murad Muhammad, you had some harsh words to say about Steele after the fight. You've also had a chance to reflect. What if they picked Steele again in a rematch? How would you react to that?
Well, we wouldn't want Steele. Matter of fact, what Don King just stated is true. We said because of the rumors, Richard Steele should not have been picked. So this would have been a clean fight, and no one wouldn't have no assumption that he associate with anyone. More important, that we felt that he would have been incompetent because he traveled from Japan into the country. He got in on a Friday night, and we felt that he wouldn't be up for this fight. Here's a professional referee, didn't even know this was a 12-round fight. And that's a key factor in any fight. So therefore, everything that I predict prior to the fight happened.
Well, might I make a point here? I think all of us would agree, wouldn't you, Don and Murad, this is a good referee on a bad night. That's all there is to that. You have bad nights, I have bad nights, he had a bad night that night.
Not necessarily so. I will say this here. He's a good referee, and he come in a climate which wasn't palatable for stopping a fight. And by him being the one in this type of a climate and atmosphere, and with the protestations that had been made prior to the fight, it wasn't timely, but you have people's lives at stake, and regardless of what one says, one way or the other, I think the most important thing is that he does his job the way he sees it to stop and save a life. One punch too soon is greatly better than one punch too late.
That all we agree with.
All right, let's get to some other points of contention. For example, the questionable first knockdown in the second round. Ferdy, let's take a look at this particular replay, and again, take us through this sequence.
Well, this is the first mistake I thought that Steele made because I didn't think it was a knockdown. Now watch, there's a punch to the shoulder. Now watch, look at the highlight. There's Tyson's leg, there's Ruddock's leg. They're tangled up together, and down he goes. Well, that's not a knockdown. That but they counted, Steele counted, made it a 10-8 round and put him way behind when necessarily that should not have been that way.
All right, Razor Ruddock, were you knocked down here or your legs tangled up with Mike Tyson?
Definitely I was not down at all, because you see it on the screen that my leg was tied up. I didn't know at the time that my leg was tied up, but I thought I slipped because I sure didn't feel anything on my chin.
Mike, in your opinion, was it a legitimate knockdown?
No, it wasn't a legitimate knockdown, but I'd take anything he gave me. I mean, he gave me a knockdown, Ruddock knockdown, I was happy.
Okay, now, in the next round, there was no question, knockdown number 2, round 3. Mike, we have a couple of angles, and there is no doubt this is vintage Mike Tyson. You took a couple of lefts and a right, but came back with a big left counterpunch. We're going to take a look at it. In your view, what happened here, Mike?
When you see I'm getting away from punches, when I counted.
And down he goes.
He did too long.
And Razor, even though you were sent sprawling to the canvas, you bounced back up quickly. You seem to be smiling there. Did he hurt you?
No, he didn't hurt me, but I was just looking at it. I stayed there too long. I underestimated his speed at that point. And I threw the right hand, and I stayed there looking for the effect. You see what I mean? I stayed there. I should have been moving.
Now, after each knockdown, were you saying to Richard Steele, I'm okay,
yeah,
to compensate?
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if he's going to start the fight, because I heard a rumor that, you know, he might start the fight prematurely. So what I did was, in front of him, I said, I'm okay, to make sure he don't stop the fight. But in the 7th round now, he turned his back to me. I couldn't say I was okay.
All right, to the 6th round, clearly won by Razor Ruddock. All 3 judges gave him the round. Ferdy, you called this the most exciting round of the fight.
Yes, because at this point, it looked like the fight could turn. Tyson, being Tyson, was getting macho about the thing and was taking punches from Ruddock, maybe unnecessarily, but they were hammering punches. It looked like, hey, this could be Tokyo again. All of a sudden, it validated Ruddock's position. This could go the other way. And when the fight was stopped, we were robbed of the decision. Could Tyson have finished him off? Could Ruddock have come back? We'll never know until the rematch. That's why we're having one.
And Razor, in the 6th round, did you think things were turning around in your favor?
No, you see, I had a plan. I had a plan to fight Mike Tyson. I know he had something to prove, you know, because first of all, he said it's a tough fight, and he's gonna come out with his fury and try to take me. And I think, you know, he was gonna waste a lot of energy. And what I was trying to do was take him to the later rounds. You see, he's trying to take me out viciously, so I was gonna use his own aggressiveness at that point to beat him.
Mike, were you hurt here at all during this
No,
round?
never hurt this. I was hit with a good shot right in the ear. I guess I think with the first right hook he threw, left hook, I believe, he hit me with a good shot in the ear. But I mean, you know, you in a fight, you rings your head. You know, I mean, you hear birds going around. But other than that, you know, you're all right.
You don't hear the crowd, you hear birds.
Yeah,
Mike Tyson doing an imitation of birds. I like that. Now, Monday night, during the King Vision pay-per-view telecast, you presented letters, Don King, from the WBA, WBC, and the IBF that stated Mike Tyson should fight the winner of the World Championship bout between Buster Douglas and Evander Holyfield. Now, Holyfield, the winner of the fight and current champion, decided to accept the challenge of George Foreman instead of Mike Tyson. Don, will you continue to pursue a fight for Tyson, or will there be a rematch with Razor Ruddock?
Well, right now, we're demonstrating that we're not interested in Holyfield. Holyfield is a testicle-less man to allow himself to be manipulated and maneuvered in that way. The Dubas and Shelley Finkel, their skullduggery has bribed or corrupted or did something to these officials that would make people that wrote down their decree in writing and then take it back after writing it in writing with no explainable excuse. So we know that something happened. Bobby Lee dealing with South Africa. He's a sellout. We understand that. He's a disgrace to our race. He should not be able to be the head of any organization in that type of position, being a black man when they're letting him kill, plunder, rape, murder blacks in South Africa, and he's now working with a wonderful relationship with them with apartheid. So then it runs the mill that when Dubas said that 1 hour after the fight, Jimmy Benz said, listen, take that letter and you can wipe your behind with it. It ain't what the papers wrote on. And he said that to Mike Marley of the New York Post. And then implemented it and made it come true. So it's something wrong between the IBF and the WBA that they can be manipulated this way. And then Shelley Finkel with his Goebbels like propaganda, making wrong right and right wrong, has gotten the run of the day, Steve. They got people believing perceptively that Mike, who's the victim, is the villain. Because it's his rights. It has nothing to do with Don King. It doesn't matter whether Don King says anything or not. The fact is, Mike Tyson didn't get a rematch, something Razor Ruddock will get that Mike Tyson didn't get, and with the organization who takes taxes, which is millions of dollars of sanction fees, and to protect the rights of the fight. That's what a governing body is supposed to do, as our government does for us, the rights of the citizen. Now, to let them do that, I think that's reprehensible, it's ludicrous, it's just abominable.
Don, the bottom line, you just said it. There is going to be a rematch.
Well, we're going to work for a rematch because here we don't need the IBF. We don't need a disgraceful organization telling us, and I should say, I will qualify that. It isn't the organization, it's the disgraceful president of the governing body. We don't need the WBA with Mendoza, who don't have no time, and let Jimmy Benz with his sleazy activity. If hats were arms, he'd be an octopus, to be out there making all the deals with Mr. Fix-It. You know what I mean? So we don't need that. But we need a new president for the WBA. So what I'm saying is that here we don't need the WBC, but we love the WBC because they're the only one to stand up for justice and fair play, and we will fight for them, and I will continue to work to justify this man being crucified mercilessly.
Is there a chance that Tyson Ruddock 2 could be a championship fight in light of the fact that some might assume that Evander Holyfield may be stripped of his WBC title? Could it happen? Will it happen? And if it does happen, where will it take place?
Well, certainly it would be the proper thing to do because the precedent has been set. When Muhammad Ali went directly back to fight Leon Spinks and avoided Ken Norton, the WBC vacated the title. Jimmy Young and Ken Norton fought for the title. It was there. When Larry Holmes refused to fight Greg Page as a mandatory challenger, Larry Holmes relinquished the title, and the WBC vacated the title, and they fought and got a new champion of the WBC. It has been all the way down with all the rematches down there. When they break the rules, they pay the penalty. If you don't want to go on the governing body, if you don't want to live in this country, if you're an alien, then they'll take you back and they'll deport you. You got to be able to live with the rules and regulations that you are. So rematch here, we don't have to ask no permission. We're going to do what's best for the public. The public wants a rematch. The public gets a rematch. Desert Storm 2. That's what we want to do, Desert Storm 2, and we take away all doubt of what's happening, whether it's a mistake, whether it's a premature stoppage, whatever the excuse they want to do. Both of these guys are true gladiators. They're the best heavyweights in the world. They're making the heavyweight title meaningless with the WBA and IBF because of the skullduggery and unconscionable activity of the Dubas and the Finkel's looking for something for nothing. Now, the fact that Charlie Finkel and Dubas says, we want to go get an easy payday before we meet Mike Tyson, it shows that they're bilking the public. Once the public realizes that the bottom line of what they're saying is, give us 30 or 40 million because this is a Holyfield. He's a nice kid, you know what I mean? But forget about the people's money. Without Foreman as the guy that's fighting this guy, and from a curiosity factor, you know it can't be a match, Steve. It cannot be a competitive match because Foreman is 43 years old, Holyfield 25 years is minor. Can't be a competitive match. It's a scam. But now, so for this scam to be ripped off, they got to be able to use Foreman, and they're doing this.
Don, in all due respect, I forgot the question. But now to the fighters, are you anxious for a rematch, Mike?
Absolutely.
No question.
But I believe more than him feeling he's been robbed, I felt that I've been robbed from a knockout. Because as you went through the knockout, as the fight was going on, referee Steele, which, you know what I mean, I think, again, he's a professional referee, I can't question him. He came and he pushed me away, and I didn't know what the reason was for. I didn't know he was stopping the fight, but I knew he pushed me away, and I was extremely close to him, and I knew the fight wouldn't last more. I knew 1 or 2 more punches.
All right, Razor, would you like another crack at
Definitely, because first of all, I've been in fights where I've been on the ground. I got hit by Mike Weaver where my legs been wobbling, and I came back and I won the fight. So therefore, you can't judge it by that stoppage right there, because I wasn't on the ground. But prior to that, I was on the ground, and I got back up and I fight even harder. So you'd have to judge it if I was on the ground and I was out.
All right, some say that the Tyson-Ruddock fight was actually the undercard for the Battle Royale that took place in the ring afterwards. Let's go back and take a look at that wild and crazy free-for-all. This was the scene near the conclusion of the fight. Mike Tyson landing on Razor Ruddock, and with 38 seconds remaining of the 7th round, Richard Steele stopped the fight. Now, as the two fighters went to embrace in sportsmanlike fashion, what took place in the next few minutes was anything but sportsmanlike. The decision to stop the fight by referee Richard Steele so infuriated the Ruddock camp that handlers charged into the ring in protest to the referee's decision. Words were exchanged, emotions were running sky high, there was lots of pushing and shoving, and it continued to escalate into a full-scale rumble. The Green Jackets are security people from the Mirage Hotel who sprung into action to help try and cool things off. And they were aided by Las Vegas Metro Police. Meanwhile, the key folks involved in this fracas, Razor Ruddock's brother and manager, Delroy Ruddock, Mike Tyson's trainer, Richie Giacchetti, Ruddock's promoter, Murad Muhammad, plus other handlers, bodyguards, and friends from both the Tyson and Ruddock camps. Some were even forcibly grabbed and dragged out of the ring. Perhaps we can get a closer look in slow motion. As the fight ended, in comes Delroy Ruddock on the left, as indicated by the arrow, beer being tossed from the seats, and Tyson's trainer, Richie Giacchetti, bending down to pick up Tyson's mouthpiece. As Giacchetti is reaching forward, Delroy comes in screaming and hollering at Steele and Tyson. Giacchetti gets up, pushes Delroy Ruddock away. Delroy retaliates by wrestling Giacchetti to the canvas. Giacchetti grabs Delroy in a headlock, pulls him down to the mat with him. Assistant trainer Aaron Stowell enters the fray, coming to the aid of Giacchetti. Now entering the picture from the left is tuxedo-clad Murad Muhammad, Razor Ruddock's promoter. Giacchetti, along with Delroy Ruddock, laying in the corner on the canvas. Murad steps in and then steps on Giacchetti and continues to kick him as he is down on the canvas, even though he is being restrained himself. Meanwhile, up top, the handlers and the bodyguards for both Tyson and Ruddock's camp are mixing it up as the Green Jackets and the local Las Vegas police try to restore order. Now, here is the overhead view, and you'll be able to detect Richie Giacchetti going down. Everybody involved. Tyson's bodyguard sending roundhouse rights from over the ropes. Murad Muhammad's aides, Kevin and Keith Ali, mix it up with Tyson's friend, Rory Holloway. Everybody wants a piece of the action. And with the stakes this high, it is little wonder that tempers were short. But the controversial stoppage by Richard Steele was the fuse that lit this emotional keg of dynamite. Unbelievable. Let's get back to Don King. We got to pin you down on this. When and where a rematch?
Well, if Desert Storm 2 takes place, it would take place in June. It would take place at the Mirage, where we just had this fight at. And we'll look forward to letting these guys get it on. They ain't no kin, so they can be in. And that's what makes it so credible here, that we have guys that can fight, and the public will be the one to be the beneficiary, Steve, of the two best heavyweights in the world fighting without the alphabet soup.
Murad, would a rematch satisfy you in terms of dropping your legal actions?
Yes, that's all we wanted was a rematch, and we give a lot of thanks to Mike Tyson, who thinks he's the best fighter in the world, and he asked for a rematch. He wants it. Like he said, he wants to knock Ruddock out. Ruddock wants to knock him out, and this is what boxing is all about. So we welcome a rematch.
And what would happen, Mike Tyson, in Tyson Ruddock 2? Would you knock him out?
Quicker.
That is it. In one word, you have summed it up. Razor, how about your right hand? Would you be ready physically and all that stuff, getting ready for Tyson Ruddock 2?
Oh, definitely. I'll be more ready.
All right.
You ain't making an excuse now. You wasn't hurt anything. You saying about right hand now.
Right.
I didn't say, one thing I know is complain, but one thing I know is that you have to say, I was talking to you, telling you why you're doing those low blows, why you're doing the hell blow. All you were doing is smiling and grinning. That's what you were doing. I was talking to you, why you doing the whole low blows. Wasn't I saying that to you in the ring?
Well, you're supposed to hit me back low if I hit you low.
Listen, I don't do those things.
I don't remember hitting you low. I don't remember that.
Tyson.
I don't remember hitting you low.
The whole world saw you do it. It's like you were feeding on it. I mean, I'm really surprised if I'm going to be able to tell another kid.
This is great.
This is truly a rematch.
You know exactly what you're doing.
The quality, what they're doing, and the greatness of the two athletes. This is it, man.
You didn't headbutt me?
You know, you did it first.
That's not true.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, well, y'all can find out who it is. We're going to justify it on Desert Storm, too. And we're going to also have the troops right back there from the Persian Gulf. We're going to take care of the Red Cross and the USO. Elizabeth Dole going to be happy. Everybody going to be happy. We going to get it on, man.
Now, last time you said...
We ain't going to worry about no IBF.
Last time you said it doesn't count. Last time Mike Tyson said it doesn't count unless he's dead.
Well, he's still alive, so we got to do it again.
All right, now, Ferdy, it seems like this has all the elements for a rematch. The controversial finish. Ruddock seemed like he was beginning to turn things around. Do you think, Ferdy, that Tyson is taking a risk by fighting Ruddock again?
Anytime you get in a ring with a guy that's this big, this guy's a building, that's a terrific risk. Well, one thing about Tyson, who is reminds me a lot of Ali, he wants the best in with him. That's, so far as I've seen in his career, he fights who's ever there, as Ali did. To me, this is Ali Frazier shaping up. This is a big, big fight between two guys that want each other. There's Frazier little, and there's Ali big, and they let them go together. It's going to be a good fight.
All right, Ferdy, on that note, we say thank you to all of our guests. Monday, March 18th, 1991, a night we won't soon forget, a night that gave new meaning to the term March Madness. For the Fight Doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, I'm Steve Albert saying so long, everybody.
Well, that's the way it was back on the 18th of March. Needless to say, a whole lot to talk about. When we come back, we'll have replays, we'll have reports, and we'll have interviews with both Ruddock and Tyson when ABC's Wide World of Sports continues. Stay with us. Studios, I'm Dan Deerdorf along with Alex Wallow. Alex, I guess the first order of business is to talk about the end of that fight. Normally, the day after a fight, the papers are full of talking about what happened from bell to bell. In this case, it's what happened after the fight and the way the fight ended. Were you as surprised as I was?
Dan, I really was shocked that an outstanding referee like Richard Steele would stop a fight so prematurely. I believe that the reason he did that was he was anticipating a Mike Tyson punch rather than waiting for the punch and to see the effect of it. Let's take a look back at a couple of angles, different angles of the end of the fight. Here is the combination again that got Razor Ruddock in trouble. Mike Tyson right to the body, left to the head. Now watch the three punches that missed. Again, the right over the top of the head, the left behind the head, and the right to the arm. And then right there, as the left hook is on its way, Richard Steele jumped in and stopped the fight. I think we take a look at another angle, and you'll see that, in fact, Richard Steele had decided to stop this fight before that left hook landed, the left hook that drove Ruddock back. Watch. Right there. See Steele's right hand down at the right, bottom right of your picture? That hand is already coming up to intervene before that punch is landed. He jumps in, holds Mike Tyson off as Razor Ruddock slumps back in the ropes. And the stoppage was even more shocking when you consider a couple of facts. First, a year and a day earlier, the referee Richard Steele was heavily criticized for stopping the Meldrick Taylor-Julio Cesar Chavez fight prematurely. And secondly, as we've said, his appointment as referee for this fight was protested by Razor Ruddock's promoter because of his alleged tendency to jump in too quick. And Dan, you would expect Richard to bend over backwards to prove his critics wrong, but in fact he went out and did exactly what they said he would.
Not only that, Alex, but Richard Steele really compounded his mistake in the ring with his explanations out of it. He was quoted as saying, when I stopped it, he, meaning Ruddock, was hurt and helpless on the ropes, and he then insisted to an interviewer that the fight was scheduled for 10 rounds, when, of course, in reality, it was scheduled for 12, and Alex, Richard Steele did decline our request for an interview for the story.
Additionally, Dan, the Nevada Commission was criticized for appointing Richard Steele to referee this fight when he had returned from Japan only 4 days before the fight and had done another title fight 2 days before. They said his explanation for his actions may have been the fact that he was jet-lagged and tired. More importantly, people said the commission should not have appointed Steele because he is a pit boss at one of Steve Wynn's hotels. Steve Wynn is the owner of the Mirage Hotel in Las Vegas, the co-promoter of the fight, and a man with a financial interest in a Tyson victory.
Alex, do you really think that that might have been a factor?
No, I don't believe. I question Richard Steele's judgment. I really don't question his integrity. But the Nevada State Athletic Commission should clearly avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest and not appoint Richard Steele to do fights when the Mirage is a promoter.
All right, Alex, I'll be your straight man. Obvious question. What happens if Steele doesn't stop the fight?
Obvious answer, nobody really knows, Dan. In my opinion, Razor Ruddock was about 10 seconds away, maybe less, from getting knocked out by Mike Tyson. And if my opinion is correct, then the irony of this whole situation is that the referee's stoppage actually helped Razor Ruddock and hurt Mike Tyson. Mike was denied a decisive KO victory, and the controversy put Razor right back into a rematch in which he'll make a reported $5 million. Okay, now let's take a look at the fight after the fight, the chaos that erupted after Richard Steele stopped the fight there. You see the two fighters embracing. Now, watch the right of your screen as Delroy Ruddock, the brother and manager of Razor Ruddock, Mike Tyson sees him out of the corner of his eye there, comes into the picture, obviously upset by the referee's decision. He has some words with Mike Tyson, and there on the left of your screen, Tyson's trainer, Richie Giacchetti, says, Delroy, would you please leave the ring immediately? Delroy says, no, I won't, Richie. Richie puts a headlock on him, and the two of them go out of frame. Now, another angle. They're still grappling, trying to be broken up by some of the security people that are there. You see Delroy Ruddock and Richie Giacchetti closer than they ever dreamed or hoped they would be. Now, enter stage left, Murad Muhammad, the promoter of Razor Ruddock, as he gets in his best licks or kicks, as you see there. He says he was trying to break up Delroy and Richie Giacchetti. Watch, one more for good measure. Boom. A wild, wild scene. The Nevada State Athletic Commission fined Murad Muhammad $25,000 and suspended him for a period of 1 year for his part in the post-fight mess, which caused Ruddock to announce that he was pulling out of the rematch in protest. Razor was mollified when the commission agreed to give Murad a hearing, and the fight was back on.
Now, Alex, in that hearing last Wednesday, the commission refused to change its original ruling, and now I have to say the fight appears to remain on.
Appears is the key word here, Dan. Razor Ruddock appears set. There are persistent rumors that Mike Tyson is unhappy and wants to go directly to a title fight with Evander Holyfield. As of yesterday, both men were in the gym training for the rematch. Stay tuned.
Well, Alex, a week before the rematch, and that'll be Saturday, June 22nd here on Wide World of Sports, we'll have a preview of the fight with more interviews, analysis, and a report on all of the up-to-date events surrounding the bout, which will happen on the 28th. When we come back from this commercial timeout, we'll hear from both Razor Ruddock and Mike Tyson. Stay with us, won't you?
Both fighters in their training camps to discuss with them some of the issues raised by the fight. First, the moment in round 6 when Mike Tyson, after having dominated all the early rounds, was in trouble. Looked as hurt as he was perhaps against Buster Douglas back in Tokyo. Mike Tyson says that was definitely not the case.
I wasn't actually hurt, but he was throwing punches, and I was trying to counter. I was trying to get close to the counter, but he wasn't as sure. He wasn't confident enough to just go all out. He was doing one punch at a time, one punch at a time. I was trying to counter him, but he was always hesitant about the situation. I was never hurt, and I believe personally I won that round.
What happened is that I blew a lot of energy in the 6th round because I tried to take him on so bad, and I didn't get him in the 6th round. So what I planned to do was to cruise through the 7th, like, you know, relax in the 7th and recuperate a little bit, and then go back out in the 8th and do the same thing I did in the 6th round.
Sometimes I'm going to put it on this guy right here, and I just wanted to put it on him, not knowing necessarily that I would stop him in that round, but I just said I'm going to put some pressure on him, throw some hard punches right here, and I'm going to get his respect, because I know he felt that he did something in his mind, that he accomplished something in that round.
And what about each fighter's reaction to the controversial stoppage of the fight in the 7th round by referee Richard Steele?
First of all, I wasn't hurt in the fight, and I don't think he really think that I was hurt, because if he did think I was hurt, he'd have turned his face to me and look at me in the eyes and stop the fight.
I knew that he was going to get knocked out eventually. The fight was going to, he was on the verge of being knocked out, but he had stopped it quick, and I was saying, whoa, the fight is over.
It happened, and let's leave it the way it is. Okay, I ain't thinking nobody do me no favor. No one ever do me no favor whatsoever. I got to fight for everything I get.
After the fight, the two men embraced in a gesture of mutual respect in the midst of all the chaos in the ring. But now, as they prepare for the rematch, as they start to motivate themselves to face each other in the ring one more time, that moment in March seems very, very far away.
There was nothing overwhelming that time. I say that he was devastating more than any other fighter. I mean, he's young and he's strong and he can punch just like any other fighter. I mean, anyone over 200 pounds can hit you and knock you out. And I figure that he hit me with a few good shots, and he wasn't as devastating as I thought it would be.
He's a good game fighter. He's a tough fighter. But, you know, like I said, he's a good fighter, and he's probably one of the top, but he's a far second for me.
All right, Alex, everything that happened at the end of the fight kind of drew our attention away from what happened during the fight. Did we learn a whole lot about these guys?
Dan, in truth, neither man looked great. Mike Tyson has not reached his pre-Douglas peak, but I think people right now are underrating Mike Tyson. He's not perfect. He did fight only in spurts, not enough combinations, not enough jabs, not enough bobbing and weaving, but except for a few seconds in round 6, he dominated a quality opponent. He showed a lot of heart and recuperative powers in coming back in round 7. Bottom line, Dan, I think if Mike Tyson prepares himself properly, he's still the best heavyweight in the world.
Well, we'll look forward to Tyson Ruddock 2 on the 28th. We'll preview it here on the 22nd. That's it for us now. Back to you, Frank.